Welcome back to a Timey Wimey Pod, where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards. My name's Rebecca,
I'm Haley.
and today we are discussing Series 2, Episode 9, The Satan Pit.
We are. This is part 2. Last week we
Mhm.
covered part 1, titled The Impossible Planet, and we are here to discuss part 2, and I'm excited.
Me too. Of all the two-parters we've discussed so far, where does this lie for you? Because obviously we know Bad Wolf, Parting of the Ways, like that's top tier. Like we love that one.
Yeah.
She can't be topped.
No, she
But
can't.
this might, I don't know. It might be below The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, but above World War III and Aliens of London.
Okay, for me, it would be Parting of the Ways, Bad Wolf, Doctor Dances, Empty Child. Then I think it would be Aliens of Legend and World War III, just because, I mean, we get Harriet Jones, and like I love those episodes. They're cheesy. I really enjoyed them though. And
No,
then
I
I would
get
say
it.
Impossible Planet, Satan Pit. And then I would say like Cybermen last.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely have more nostalgic and like personal love for Aliens of London and World War III, but this one, watching this, I was just like, this is such a good story, and the writing is just so top tier, and it's so good, and I kind of forget how much I like it until I watch it.
Yeah, I'll get more into this in a few minutes, but I was really shocked about how I feel about this episode.
Oh, well, are you ready for some fantastic facts?
Yes.
Alrighty, so this aired on June 10th, 2006, and was once again written by Matt Jones and directed by James Strong. The Stuff of Legend scene at the end of the episode was the last scene Billy Piper shot this series, and they shot it on May 31st, 2006.
I found that out the other day, and it's kind of destroyed me emotionally.
Yeah, I kind of love that it's her last scene. It's very sweet, and I always think about that when I'm watching this episode, but it also makes me a little sad.
No, it's so sad. It was so sweet, but so sad. The last scene that Billy Piper and David Tennant shot for series 2. And did you say it was May 31st, 2006?
Yeah, this episode, they finished filming the closest to the air date, and there was a lot of worries that they weren't going to get the special effects of the Beast ready in time, but somehow they did it.
I was going to say, because this episode premiered on June 10th, 2006.
Mhm.
So that's a really quick turnaround for an entire episode. So props to everyone involved.
Speaking of a quick turnaround, the crew only had 15 minutes to shoot the 10th Doctor's big speech in the pit talking to the Beast. And David Tennant, the king he is, nailed the speech in one take.
Is there anything that man cannot do?
No, we love him. And I will never stand for David Tennant slander.
No.
There's a couple fun what ifs with this episode. So, one thing I kept seeing, and there's no really explanation on how they would have been used, but apparently the Toclophane were considered to be used in this episode. If you guys
What?
remember, I know. If you guys remember, the Toclophane were first conceived while developing Dalek because they didn't know if they were going to get the rights to the Daleks at first. So they were going to kind of invent the Toclophane as these new villains. But thankfully, they got the rights to the Daleks and used the Toclophane later. But I guess they briefly considered bringing them in here. But I don't know. I couldn't find anything about how they would have been used in the story.
That is so wild to me. How long did Russell truly have the idea for the Toclophane? Because was it all the way back in series 1, or was it even before that?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I have no clue how that would work.
I know, me either. Like I said, they didn't know if they were going to get all the effects for the Beast ready in time. So they considered a few alternatives of what the physical manifestation of the Beast would be. They considered a old man, a enormous eye, or a creepy little girl. They also considered having either the Master or Davros in the pit.
I'm sorry, Davros or the Master?
Mm-hmm.
But oh my gosh, imagine the Master
Oh my
with
gosh, I know.
Rose.
I
But like also
know.
it would not have fit this episode.
No, it would have been like, huh? What? But definitely an interesting thought. And what if? And it would have been such a crazy scene to like have the Doctor go into the pit and then there's the Master, or like someone that appears to be the Master. Tell me that wouldn't be crazy.
No, actually that would be so good. That would, oh my gosh, that would be so insane. Why do I want a story like this, but about the Master now?
Right? That
Minus
would be
the
really
possession
cool.
parts. Because that
Yeah,
doesn't fit with the
definitely.
Master.
No, that wouldn't work. Are you ready to jump into it?
Yes, I am.
So this episode starts right in the middle of the action. There's a lot going on. They're trying to get a hold of the Doctor and Ida who are in the pit. They finally do. And then they start talking about the beast and the devil. And Rose keeps asking him if she's like, there's no such thing, right? There's no such thing. And the Doctor just stays silent. And I really like that moment. And I really like how throughout the episode, Ten just talks about, he believes he hasn't seen everything. And I find that really interesting.
Yeah, he also mentions at one point that like if he knew everything, he would stop traveling. And so I kind of like that sentiment that the Doctor is always down to learn about new things and admit that he doesn't know everything, where I feel like that's not always the sentiment we get from the Doctor. But yeah.
I really like these moments where the Doctor has to admit he doesn't know something. We see it here, we see it in Midnight and other later episodes, and it's always just really interesting. And yeah, like why would he know everything? And it just shows like how vast the universe is. Like we'll never know everything. One moment I found kind of interesting is when, before the cable breaks out on them, Ida and Ten are kind of considering if they should go down into the pit. And the captain, tells her not to, but Ida then asks Ten what he would do. And I just kind of found it kind of crazy that she's so willing to not listen to her captain, and wants to know what Ten would do instead.
But also, this is like Zach is a temporary captain because their captain died like at the beginning, right?
Yeah,
of the
like
last episode. Yeah, when they landed and got to the base. So I almost wonder if she didn't like fully like Zach all that much and didn't want to take his orders, or she really was just willing to give it all to the Doctor. I don't know, but I really like when the Doctor says for the first time ever, I'm going to say retreat. Because that's when you know that, like, oh, this is something crazy, like something real big.
I really love the speech she kind of gives before that about that feeling inside of wanting to jump and like do it, and that like little impulse that you feel. I thought the writing in that was really good.
Yeah.
Okay, time to talk about our girl Rose, because Rose is literally working this whole episode. First she stops Jefferson from shooting Toby, which maybe she should have just let him shoot him, but
honestly, if it were Rose should have let him shoot Toby right then and there. I'm sorry. We talked about this in the last episode. Toby was just awful in the last episode and is no different in this episode. Like, even when he's not possessed, he's not a good guy.
No, he's not. But, Rose is a good person. And so she's like, well, if you shoot him, you're going to have to shoot me. And you kind of got to respect her for it. It's what the Doctor would do. She really takes over the role of the Doctor in this while he's down in the pit, because everyone's freaking out when the power goes off and calms her down, and she really pulls the team together. And she's like, talking to the captain, she's like, you just have to figure out the right buttons to push. And she's giving everyone jobs, and telling Toby, go figure out the writing, and she's telling, Danny to do stuff and Jefferson to do stuff. She is putting people to work and not letting them freak out and fall apart.
And she's doing all of this after the cable snaps. So, like, the Doctor and Ida are trapped down in the pit. And we all know how our girl Rose feels about Tim. She loves that man. She will never willingly leave him behind. And so, for her to just, like, automatically step into basically the Doctor role, like you said, in this moment, even though we know that she is feeling all kinds of emotions, it's just, I love it so, so much. And it always is so sad to me when after she tells everyone, like, go and do all of these things, try to figure out how to leave, how to stop the oods. And she also mentions that, like, hey, the cable snaps right when the Doctor started making sense. So we got to think our way out of this. But, like, after all of that, when she's just staring down the shaft, it's so sad.
It is. The love they have for each other is so poignant in this episode, even though they spend the entire episode apart. But the love they have is so clearly seen in this episode, and we'll get into it more later, but I just really love it. I want to go back a little bit to where the Beast is talking through the Ood to the Doctor and Ida and to the crew and Rose, because the writing here is just so impeccable. Like, I love how he just reads all the characters, about the captain. He says, the captain's scared of command. For Jefferson, the soldier haunted by the eyes of his wife. Again, Jefferson, what did you do to your wife?
What did you do? Did you tell her? Like, what happened?
Or did she, like, see him do something? We'll never know, but the lore is so interesting.
So interesting.
Ida, the scientist still running from Daddy. Danny, the little boy who lied. What did you lie about, Danny? What happened?
Yeah, I really want to know that.
Toby, the virgin. That's really funny. Just calling him out. And then Rose, the lost girl, far from home, the valiant child that will soon die in battle.
And Rose asks the Doctor, she's like, what does he mean? Like, is this true? And Tin is like, it's not true. It can't be.
He's lying.
He's lying. He's a liar.
And even though we don't really know what he means, like, we don't know what happened with Ida and her dad. We don't know about Jefferson and his wife, or what Danny lied about. But it just gives you so much added detail to these characters and tells you that that is their, like, dark secret. And the way the actors play those scenes is really good. Like, the way their eyes lit up and the fear they have in their faces and the regret and guilt. Like, it's really, really interesting, really great writing and acting all around.
I fully agree. And another moment that honestly is kind of ingrained in my brain is after the cable snapped, the Doctor and Ida are stuck down in the pit. Ida, is talking about how they can't get back up there. And all Tin says is, I'll get back. Rose is up there.
I know. I was going to say that too. I love that. Like, he knows Rose is up there and he's going to get back to her. They're always going to find each other.
They will always find their way back.
They will.
Okay. The Oods and the ventilation shafts, because, like...
So scary.
So scary. Like, Loki, it's haunting because it's the Oods with the red eyes. And me and Rebecca have said in the last episode, we are friends of the Ood. We stand the Ood. But when the Ood are evil, like in this episode, they're freaking creepy, especially in the ventilation shafts. Horror.
Oh, they're like speed crawling. It's so scary. And the red eyes. No, I didn't like it. It was scary.
Me either. And especially because, like, Rose and Danny and Jefferson and then Toby are all, like, trying to get to spots that have air that Zach is diverting to them. And they have to crawl so fast while the Ood are chasing them. And it's a lot of stress. It's too much stress.
Yeah, it's a lot. And everyone's kind of freaking out, and Rose is once again, having to keep everyone calm. Like Danny's really
Yeah.
losing it in those vents.
He really is.
I love the shot of 10 when he's being lowered down into the pit, and all you see is David in the iconic orange spacesuit and just
Mm-hmm.
darkness and darkness and darkness. It's just a really good, simple shot.
Oh, 100%. And we'll get back to the other points, but since we're talking about this moment, you know, Tin realizes his cable only goes so far, and then there's a 30 feet drop to get to the bottom of the pit. And
Hmm.
he doesn't want to go back up with Ida and just sit there till they die because they have limited oxygen supply. So he says he's going to basically fall and hope
Yeah.
he lives.
He's
But
like, I
him,
can survive that.
yeah. But Ida's like, I don't want to die alone. And Tin is like, I know. And then he tells Ida, and I quote, if you talk to Rose, just tell her. Tell her, oh, she knows. No, she doesn't,
No,
doctor,
she
because you haven't
doesn't.
told her.
You need to tell her. No, I remember watching that for the first time and screaming, like just freaking out. And it's such a good moment, and it's also like, no, like you need to tell her.
First of all, you need to tell her. Also, the doctor genuinely thought he would die because he wouldn't just say that.
No, literally, it's such
So,
a good moment.
and like after this moment, Rose just keeps trying the comms and then finally gets a hold of Ida. And Ida tells her that he fell and she couldn't stop him. And he said your name. And Rose is like torn up. Like, I don't even know the right way to describe her expression.
Ida explains what happens horribly. She's just like,
She
he
really
fell.
does.
I couldn't stop him. He said, "You're like, girl, what do you like?" She's giving no explanation. Like, she doesn't explain that he chose to go down there. Like, he didn't just like fall into the pit. No, it. I was like, girl, the context,
Give us more.
please. Yeah,
Give poor Rose more because Rose is just like
literally.
up there struggling. Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit. The moment when Jefferson stays behind to fight the Ood and then he gets stuck because the door closes for the vents. It reminded me so much of Dalek when Rose gets stuck behind, and even the dialogue is kind of similar. Like Jefferson just says he was a bit too slow, which is exactly what Rose said in Dalek. So kind of just made me laugh. And it's very similar. They just both get stuck behind with the villain they're fighting.
Wait, I've never thought about that, and you're kind of right on that one. This moment, though, always makes me sad because I really like the character of Jefferson. Even we don't know what he did to make his wife not want to look at him in the eyes, okay?
Yeah.
But I still like the character, and it's so sad
It is really sad.
when he dies. And it was shot really well, wonderfully
Mhm.
acted. And the moment after that, after Zach is like recording his death, and then
Mhm.
Rose and the others are like still trying to escape, and the next door opens and the Ood are right there.
And then the look Toby gives to the Ood with the
I
red
hate it.
eyes and the like, oh, so scary. And that was the first time in this episode that we saw that the beast was still part of Toby and Toby, however you want to say it, because we're kind of going back and forth. Like, does he remember? Does he not remember? Is he pretending? We never really know or find out. But that was the first moment that we saw that the beast was still in there, and oh, so scary.
I absolutely hate it. It's so freaky.
I love the juxtaposition in this episode where it goes from Rose on the base, running from the Ood with the crew, and then to Ten and Ida just, hanging out, talking, having these deep philosophical conversations. Yeah, I just really like those moments that they have. And I love how Ida's fear is so raw and real. And when Ten is getting ready to let go of the cable, she's like, I don't want to die alone. And he's like, I know, but bye, I guess.
No, I know. It's kind of crazy that he just like dips out of there.
Yeah, leaves her to suffocate, but yeah, it's kind of crazy that she didn't fight to get more. Like, this is literally her mission. Like, this is the whole reason
Yeah.
why she's here, but pop off, I guess.
Well, she also was the one who wanted to go in the pit when Tin didn't.
Okay, we got to talk about the scene where Zach decides that they gotta leave, they gotta abandon base, they're leaving them behind, and Rose doesn't want to go, and she's like, I know he's not dead, you don't know him. And it's true, like, they don't know that he can regenerate and change, and she does know that, so she knows that there is hope. Even if something bad happened, he can regenerate, and he's still the doctor, and she knows that her doctor will fight till the last second. And it's just so, I just love the moment so much. Like, she cares for him so much, and she never wants him to be alone. Something about her character that people kind of miss is she knows that the doctor has been alone all these years, all this time, and she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, she wants to be with him, and she says even if he's dead, she can't leave him. And I really love that aspect of her character. And even if it is ridiculous that she wants to stay behind, and it's a good thing in the end that they, kind of force her on the rocket, but I love that she doesn't want to leave him.
I love that too. And honestly, okay, it makes logical sense 100% that Zach is like taking her like as she's kicking and screaming and sedating her so he
Hmm.
can keep her safe because he's already lost so many people like he mentioned and he doesn't want to lose more. That all makes sense to me and why like the motive behind getting her on the rocket is. But at the same time, it annoys me that they all just like give up. And again, I know they don't know the doctor, but they're just like, he's gone. It's a lost cause. We're going. And like there's no like they're
And
like, I'm
they're
sorry.
really, yeah, and they're really willing to just leave Ida behind too. They're like,
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah. They're just kind of like, oh well. And they're like, I'm sorry, but like also let's go. Like they don't actually care that deeply.
Hmm.
Or maybe they're just not showing it on the surface. I don't know. I always feel a lot in this scene, especially when they sedate Rose, because I'm just like, honestly, if someone wants to stay behind, and even if you think it's stupid, leave them behind.
Yeah, but Zach, he did his job as captain, and it's a good
You're
thing he
right.
took her because, in the end, Ten wouldn't have had time to go back to the planet and get her. But
You're
he
right.
did what he had to do, and he is right. When he says later on, it's what the doctor would have wanted. It is, the doctor would have wanted her to leave and like have a chance to get back home, not to her timeline, but still.
Yeah, you're right. This is a good reason why I'm not meant to be a captain because I would leave everybody behind.
I know, I would
I'm
have been like,
kidding.
fine, stay.
I'm kidding. If I didn't have anything to sedate Rose, I would have been like, okay, fine. You're staying. I'm not fighting you.
Yeah, I got other things to do. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, but honestly, no, you're right. It makes full sense why Zach brought her
Hmm.
on anyway. Can we talk about how possessed Toby is one of the people holding her and bringing her on the rocket? Like, I'm
No.
sorry. I hate
Ah,
it.
get your hands off her.
Just like go away. Just
Go
like stay
away.
away.
Yeah. When they're on the rocket, ugh, I feel so bad for Rose when she's like trying to get out and trying to go back, and then Ten sees the rocket leave. Oh, it's so sad.
It's so sad. And like Rose is talking about, and we'll get to like everything that's gone down in the pit in a minute. But like Rose wakes up, she's like freaking out. She's like threatening to
Hmm.
shoot Zach. And then Zach's like, would you really do that? Is that what the doctor would want? And Rose just like sets the gun down. But then she's like talking and she's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, we're like, we still have like the gravity field, so we're able to get away from the black hole. The beast or whatever this creature is could have like done whatever, so why didn't it?
Mhm.
And as she's saying all of this, Toby is possessed again and has the writing again and breathes fire like a fireball that just
Yeah.
stays in front of his mouth and doesn't go anywhere. Then he just like gets all creepy. He gets all kinds of creepy.
Mhm. Because meanwhile, we have the Doctor face to face with the Beast. And the design and the look of the Beast, like the effects are definitely 2006, but I still think it looks pretty good and very creepy. And I think the design with how little time they had to work on it, I think they did a good job and it came out pretty well. And just the images of 10 in the pit staring up at this beast, like they're just so iconic. And David Tennant just does so well in this scene, and I can't believe that they did this all in one take.
Yeah, I agree. And in this scene, we find out that the body of the beast is imprisoned, but the mind
Mm-hmm.
of the beast can escape. So that's how people have been getting possessed and all of that. And as long as it is imprisoned, the planet will not fall into a black hole. And the jailers want Tin to stay alive, so they created an air pocket at the bottom of this pit. We never find out who the jailers are, by the way. So I don't know.
I think just
I
the
don't know
like
who they are.
civilization that was at this on this planet at some point.
Oh, interesting. That's actually kind of a good point because there's those like carvings and drawings in like the cavern walls.
Yeah, they know there
Um,
was some sort of civilization there.
I kind of forgot about that, not gonna lie.
Valid.
But anyways, the jailers want Tin to stay alive because if the beast is escaping, Tin has to stop him and make sure the
Mm-hmm.
beast gets sucked into the black hole. But
Well, if
if
he's
it
free, if he gets free from the prison, the physical manifestation, the planet falls into the black hole.
right,
Mm-hmm.
correct, and the gravitational field will like disappear, which means the rocket, which has Rose and the others in it, would be sucked into the black hole.
Mm-hmm.
But as we, discover all of this, Tin has this great speech, like we talked about with the beast down in the pit. And I really, really like what he says.
Me too. This is one of my favorite moments of the series, if not the show. The Doctor has seen all these things, demigods, wannabe gods, pretend gods, all these things, but out of everything he sees, if he believes in one thing, just one thing, he believes in Rose.
I wrote in my notes in all caps. He just confessed his love for Rose.
He did. He really did. That's the Doctor's way of saying he loves someone, and it's just such a beautiful moment. And it reminds me of just how much they're willing to fight for each other. And
Yeah.
it brings me back to Parting of the Ways, where they're fighting to get back to each other, and they're doing the same thing here. And he knows like he has to take down this beast, and he knows like doing so Rose could fall into the black hole, and the black hole would pull the rocket in. But he says, that would imply she's just a victim in all of this. But
Yeah.
he knows she's more important, and he believes in her, and rightfully so, because she's the one that figures it out and takes the gun and shoots out the window or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So she shoots out the window and Toby gets sucked out, and somehow they all are able to breathe with this broken window before the
Somehow
emergency
everyone
shield
else
comes
is
back.
fine. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. Honestly.
Yeah,
I'm a little confused about that.
but I'll let it go.
Same.
I love how the beast says no one and nothing will destroy him, and then Rose just says go to hell. And like, you think
Mm-hmm.
nothing can destroy you? Rose Tyler can.
Oh, she definitely can. Rose Tyler is such an icon.
Things like this, I'm just like, how can you hate? How can you hate our girl? Like,
I agree. I will never understand Rose Tyler's slander because she
no.
is just, and like you said, like she and the doctor keep fighting to get back to one another. And the moment where Ten destroys the prison, but then like sees his TARDIS,
So good.
I love how it's shot. Like it's such a fun shot. And it makes you, as like the viewer, so excited because you know things are going to turn around, and the rocket turns around, and everyone is like, "Huh? Like, what do you mean? Like the black hole was sucking us in, and now we're flying away." And then we hear the 10th Doctor over the intercom.
Such a good moment. And I love Rose's reaction of being like, I'm here, it's me, yeah, like, and she's just so happy. It's such a great moment. And you find out he got Ida and they make a trade. It's such a good moment. And yeah, I agree. I love that moment where he finds the TARDIS and the way it's shot. And uh, it's such a good feeling.
I think it's really funny after they do the passenger swap with Rose and Ida, because Ida had been in the TARDIS, but she had been unconscious. And the crew is asking her in the rocket, they're like, Ida, what was it like? Like, what was the box? And Ida's like, I don't remember.
I know. Uh, yeah. The 10 Rose reunion. So good.
So
So
good. The
the
hug.
way yeah, the hug, the way she runs towards him and the way he's like striding towards her still in the orange spacesuit is so good. And then he just lifts her up and her legs are kicking in the air like, oh, and their hug
Yeah.
and smiles. It's so good.
So good. And when they're in the TARDIS, you know, Rose mentions about her dying in battle, and Tin said it lied.
No, I love that moment how the doctor just he doesn't even take a second to consider it. He's like, "No, he lied."
Yeah, he lied. Because, I mean, you could consider this episode kind of, you know, a battle, and she didn't die.
Yeah, very true. But yeah, just the ending is so good. I love how Ida's like, "You guys never said like who are you?" And just
Mm-hmm.
that last moment between David and Billy and Ten and Rose, it's just so sweet.
And how they say they're the stuff of legend.
Yeah. And then I love seeing the crew fly away and they read off all the names of the Ood. It's a
Yeah.
great ending.
It is a great ending because the Ood finally get that recognition that they are life forms. Because something I wanted to mention that I didn't mention when we were talking about the ventilation shafts is that, you know, in the system of the base didn't recognize Oods as life forms. And Rose is like,
Yeah.
whose idea was that? And
No,
so
crazy.
I really like how at the end all of them get listed.
Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, there's a moment when the planet is being sucked into the black hole and you see the Ood, they're so scared and they're huddling together. It makes me so sad.
It really is so sad, especially because we know, like, it wasn't really the Ood's fault, everything they did.
Yeah. They're not villains. They were just being used as weapons, and that's not their fault.
It is not their fault at all, and I will forever be a friend of the Ood.
Yeah. Friends of the Ood.
The last thing I wrote in my notes is this is a 10 Rose episode for the shippers.
It really is. Yeah. It's why I've always loved this two-parter. It's so good. Like the moment where he says he believes in her, I don't even think I can really explain how beautiful that moment is. It's so good.
It's so good. I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that I was surprised at how I feel about this episode. And I mentioned Talking in the Impossible Planet how I didn't love this two-parter for a really long time just because of the big bad of these episodes, and I personally don't really enjoy possession storylines. That being said, this second episode is so good, especially with the Doctor and Rose, and I really, really enjoy this episode now.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it. And the writing throughout is just really well done. Is there anything in this besides the big bad and the possession storyline, just on a story basis, that doesn't work for you? Because I really have a hard time finding something I don't like.
I honestly don't think so. I mean, I know we talked at the beginning, like during the Fantastic Facts, it kind of would have been cool if it was like an unsuspecting villain. Not necessarily the Master, but like something else besides the Beast.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being like a creepy little girl. Like that's so spooky.
No, that's too spooky for me. That's giving Stephen King.
Yeah, that's so fair.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, maybe the whole like pit thing could have been written a little bit stronger just in terms of like what it took to destroy the Beast, like breaking bases. Like
Yeah.
that's how you broke it out of prison. I do wonder like how the TARDIS ended up there instead of in the black hole.
Me too.
And then of course like the window shield situation that I'm willing to look past. Like it's not too distracting that it like prevents me from enjoying the episode, but it's a little questionable on how they survived with the loss of oxygen.
No, totally. Who is the star of the show? These two parts. It's hard to pick for me because I really love the whole crew besides Toby.
We do not like Toby on this podcast. Toby he's on a list. Honestly, usually literally every other episode we've covered this series for the most part, like we've chosen a side character, a new character that's popped up, or a returning character that's popped up. But honestly, I have to give it to our girl Rose in this.
You're kind of right. You're kind of right on the money because she keeps everyone together.
She really does. I mean, she's how they're able to escape on the rocket. She's how they survived because she noticed Toby being all creepy in the rocket. I mean, she never gave up hope for the Doctor, and the Doctor believed in Rose and kept fighting to get to her. So,
yeah,
Rose deserves all the flowers.
I agree. I think if I have to pick one of the side characters, I'm going to give it to Zach because he's just this captain who wasn't meant to be the captain, but he really does do a good job taking control. He saves Rose. He doesn't leave her behind. So we got to thank him for that. So I'll give him his flowers.
You know what? I agree. Special shout out to Jefferson as well.
Yeah, even though we're a little obsessed with you, but also
we
shout
are.
Out.
You know what? Sometimes you can be a really suspicious person, but in your last moments of life, you can,
so true.
Be kind of like someone that a lot of people like.
Yeah, definitely. He did good in the end.
Yes, he did.
What is the heart of this episode?
How much Tin and Rose love each other. I will not say anything further. Thank you very much.
How much they care about each other, how much they believe in each other and will fight for each other. Even when everyone else thinks Tin and Ida are dead, Rose knows he's not. When it looks like Rose will die, Tin knows she won't. They believe in each other, and it's just so beautiful. Do we have any reviews from the past?
We do have a few reviews from the past. User Tony-Howe on IMDb on December 4th, 2007 said, "This two-parter was excellent, the best since the series returned. Sure, bits of the story were pinched from previous films, but what TV shows don't do that these days? What we got here was a cracking good sci fi story, a great big, really scary monster imprisoned at the base of a deep pit, some suburb aliens in the Ood, the best new aliens the revived series has come up with.
Oh,
I also agree.
yeah.
They're one of the best for sure. And he goes on to say that there's also a set of basically sympathetic and believable human characters, some large scale philosophical themes, love, loyalty, faith, etc., and some top drawer special effects.
Yeah, solid.
On August 15th, 2009, user Matt_DT_Jones on IMDb said, "Loved part 1, The Impossible Planet, but whoops, what a disappointment part 2 is.
Oh
The
no.
The cliffhanger of something apparently rising out of the pit was nothing coming out of the pit. Then ages spent crawling around air vents to pad out the story. The beast, a roaring thing empty of intelligence, so no doctor villain confrontation I'd been anticipating. The TARDIS is somehow inside the pit, despite the pit not being open till long after the TARDIS fell through the planet crust."
Yeah, that is kind of like, hello.
Yeah, that part is a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
He continues in saying, "And finally, another ready made solution which existed for no logical reason. I mean, why not plunge the beast into the hole as soon as the pit opened? Why not plunge him in all those years ago instead of imprisoning him anyway? Why not? I could go on, but I've lost interest." That's actually low key a good point.
Well, I think there was a civilization that was on the planet all those years ago, and they eventually died out somehow, but they made sure that no matter what happened, the beast couldn't escape.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Mm-hmm.
But that sums up the reviews for this episode I have. I know, I only chose like 2.
Yeah, fair enough. I just want to say I love any episode for the most part when we're on some sort of base or space station or ship. It's just, I love the vibes. I love like getting to hang out with a crew, and we see a lot of different crews in the show in many different locations, and this is one of my favorites that we meet. There's other times when the characters aren't as fleshed out or boring or annoying, but I really like the setting and this crew, and I just want more spaceship base kind of setting storylines. Like, I just love that aspect of sci-fi. It's always one of my favorite tropes.
A base would be really fun with the 15th Doctor.
It's something we didn't see last season, so maybe next season.
Yeah, maybe next season. Sometimes it's honestly kind of weird that we're rewatching series 2 and then we bring up the 15th Doctor like 5 generations ahead of the 10th Doctor.
No, it's so funny. If you guys haven't, there's this channel, a go watch on YouTube who's watching New Who for the first time after watching season 14, and their reactions are just so good because they're relating what they see in series 1 and series 2 to series 14, and it's such a unique perspective, and it's really funny to get that insight, and their reactions and videos are so good, so I recommend.
Highly recommend it as well. It's really great.
Well, any final thoughts before we go?
I don't think so, besides, 10 rows forever.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back next week with the most beloved episode of all time, Love and Monsters.
And by famous, she means infamous.
Yeah, one of the two.
Because, it's just one of those episodes.
We'll get into it next week.
We'll get into it next week. But next week's going to be really interesting, so come back for that one.
Yeah. But until then, make sure you check us out on Instagram and TikTok, where we post stories, snippets, all sorts of fun stuff at timey-wimey-pod for both Instagram and TikTok.
And email us anything and everything to timey-wimey-pod@gmail.com and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform.
Talk to you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.